My car died in a town that looked like it had been forgotten by the GPS gods. 1 minute I was following the blue line on my phone, searching for a scenic detour on my cross-country drive. The next, I was on a two-lane road surrounded by nothing but cornfields, and my engine was making a sound like a bag of wrenches in a blender. Then silence, and the sickening smell of burning oil. I was a data analyst from Chicago. I knew spreadsheets, not spark plugs. I had exactly 1 bar of service. A frantic Google search for mechanic near me yielded a single result. Owen's Auto Repair. If it's broke, I'll fix it. It was 3 miles away. 3 miles later, I stumbled into a garage that looked like a museum exhibit for the 1970s. Old metal signs for oil and tires hung on the walls. The air was thick with the familiar, oddly comforting smell of gasoline and grease. A guy was leaning over the open hood of an old Ford pickup, a wrench in his hand. He was tall, with broad shoulders that strained against the fabric of his faded blue coveralls. "Having a good day?" he asked without looking up, his voice a low, calm rumble. "Just peachy," I grumbled, running a hand through my sweaty hair. "My car decided to commit suicide about 3 miles that way." He finally straightened up and turned to face me. He had a dusting of grease on his cheek and kind, steady brown eyes that took in my city slicker outfit, slim-fit chinos and a linen shirt, both now wrinkled and pathetic, with a flicker of amusement. "Let me guess. A newish-looking sedan with out-of-state plates. How did you know that?" "'Cause I'm the only garage for 50 miles in any direction," he said with a slow grin. "And I'm Owen. Let's go take a look at the patient." He drove us back to my car in his beat-up tow truck. He didn't say much, just listened to the radio, which was playing some old-school country music. He popped the hood of my car, took one look, and let out a low whistle. "Well, there's your problem," he said. "You threw a rod. Engine's toast." "Toast?" I repeated dumbly. "Like a little burnt?" "Like a $5,000 piece of toast," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "You're not going anywhere in this thing for a while. I'm gonna have to order a new engine block." And that's how my scenic detour turned into an indefinite stay in a town with 1 stoplight, 1 diner, and 1 impossibly calm mechanic. Owen towed my car back to his garage and drove me to the town's only motel, the Sleepy Pine, which looked like it hadn't seen a new mattress since the Carter administration. "The engine will take 3, maybe 4 days to get here," he said as I checked in. "Small town, you know. We're on the slow delivery route." The first day, I tried to work. I sat in my musty motel room with my laptop, trying to lose myself in spreadsheets. But the town's Wi-Fi was painfully slow, and the silence was unnerving. I was used to the constant hum of the city. Here, the loudest sound was a bird chirping outside my window. I was going stir-crazy. By the afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked over to the garage. Owen was there, working on a tractor that looked older than he was. "Can I help?" I asked, surprising myself. He raised an eyebrow. "You know anything about diesel engines?" "No," I admitted. "But I can hand you things. And I'm really good at following instructions." He looked at my clean, soft hands, then back at my face, and a slow smile spread across his lips. "Okay, city boy. Grab that socket wrench set over there. Try not to get your fancy pants dirty." I spent the rest of the afternoon as his clumsy, overqualified assistant. He was a patient teacher. He showed me the difference between a Phillips and a flathead, how to sort bolts, how to clean a greasy part until it shined. He never made me feel stupid, even when I asked a million dumb questions. He just moved with a steady, unhurried confidence that I found myself envying. My whole life was a rush, a series of deadlines and metrics. Owen's life was about the patient, methodical act of making something broken work again. We got the tractor running just as the sun was starting to set, casting long, golden shadows across the garage floor. "Not bad," Owen said, wiping his brow with the back of a greasy hand. "For a guy who's probably never held a wrench before." "I'm a quick study," I said, a genuine smile on my face for the first time all day. My hands were filthy, and my back ached, but I felt good. Useful. "Come on," he said, locking up the garage. "I'll buy you a beer. You earned it." We went to the town diner. Everyone knew Owen. The waitress, a woman named Flo, called him Honey, and brought him his usual burger without asking. He introduced me as Daniel, the guy with the toast for an engine. I was an outsider, but with Owen, I felt like I was on the inside. We talked for hours. I told him about my job, about the data and the algorithms. He told me about taking over the garage from his dad, about how he knew every car and every person in this town. He spoke about his life with a simple, uncomplicated pride. There was no ambition to be bigger or better. He was just Owen, the guy who could fix things. And that was enough. The next few days fell into a pattern. I'd wake up in my lumpy motel bed, walk to the diner for coffee, and then head to the garage. I became his unofficial apprentice. I helped him bleed brakes on an old station wagon. I learned how to change oil. I got grease under my fingernails that took 3 days to scrub out. And I loved it. In the city, my work was abstract. Numbers on a screen. Here, the work was real. You could hold it in your hands. At the end of the day, something that was broken was now fixed. There was a simple, profound satisfaction in that. The real shift happened on the third day. The new engine for my car had arrived, a massive, complicated piece of machinery sitting on a pallet. It was a huge job, and we started early. By late afternoon, we were both exhausted and covered in a layer of grime. We were lying on our backs on creepers under my car, trying to align the new engine block. It was tight, frustrating work. "Just a little to the left," Owen grunted, his voice echoing in the tight space. I pushed, my muscles screaming in protest. I was tired, my head was starting to ache from the smell of the degreaser, and the single bare bulb above us was blinding. My eyes started to droop. Hey, Chicago. Don't fall asleep on me now." Owen's voice was close. "I'm not," I mumbled, but my eyelids felt like they were made of lead. The rhythmic clinking of a wrench somewhere in the garage, the low hum of the air compressor. It was a strange, industrial lullaby. The next thing I knew, I was waking up to a gentle nudge on my shoulder. I was still on the creeper under my car. A rough, wool army blanket had been draped over me. Owen was crouched beside me, his face illuminated by the harsh work light. He had a small, fond smile on his face. "You were out cold," he said softly. "Snoring and everything." I sat up, my face burning with embarrassment. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. It's okay," he said, his smile widening. "You worked hard today. You can rest." I looked at him, at the grease on his cheek, at the kindness in his eyes. In that moment, under the belly of my own broken-down car, I felt a connection to him that was more real than anything I had felt in years. He hadn't just seen me as an inconvenience. He had seen that I was tired, and he had covered me with a blanket. It was a simple, decent, profoundly human thing to do. He helped me slide out from under the car. We were standing close in the cluttered space of the garage, surrounded by the ghosts of 100 other repairs. "Engine's in," he said, his voice a little rougher than before. "Just have to connect everything tomorrow. You should be able to get back on the road by the afternoon." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Back on the road. Back to my clean apartment, my spreadsheets, my scheduled lonely life. And away from here. Away from him. The thought left a hollow ache in my chest. "Right," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Good." He just looked at me, his brown eyes searching my face. He knew. He could see the conflict I was feeling as clearly as he could diagnose a bad alternator. He reached out and gently wiped a smudge of grease from my cheek with his thumb. His touch was rough, calloused, and it sent a jolt right through me. "For a guy with such clean hands," he said, his voice low, "you're not afraid to get dirty." I think I was starting to forget what it felt like, I admitted. He didn't move his hand. He just kept looking at me, and the space between us became charged, filled with the unspoken things we had learned about each other over the past few days. "You don't have to go, he said. "The slow delivery route, it's not so bad." And I knew he wasn't talking about car parts anymore. I leaned in, and he met me. The kiss was not gentle. It was greasy and clumsy, and it tasted of coffee and hard work. It was a kiss that said, "Asterisk, I see you. The real you. Under all the grime and all the polish. Asterisk, it was the most real thing that had ever happened to me." He fixed my car the next day. I paid him for the repairs, and then I did the most impulsive, unscheduled thing of my entire life. I went back to the Sleepy Pine Motel, and I booked it for another week.